First off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessors, transmitting masters, and everyone here today for this opportunity to talk about the six paramitas. I think we're only covering the first three, the six today, right? Let's see. Okay. So for us, when we receive the Tao, we're on supposedly we're on this path to Buddhahood, right? But this path to Buddhahood, of course, we have to walk this path, right? It's not like once we receive the Tao, it's not automatic that when we leave this world, we're Buddhas. That's not the case, right? So we have to cultivate, and cultivation. Obviously, there are various different types of cultivation, but for if we want to achieve Buddhahood is the highest level. Okay, I guess we'll get to that in a bit. But so here, there's this quote here. It says, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can, and no one may. Right? We ourselves must walk the path." Okay, so that's why we always talk about cultivation. Cultivation is most important. We have to do, right? Do it, not just talk, and not just, I know, and don't do anything. Okay, so they're kind of like different paths, I guess, in terms of like the more, I guess it's called the Theravada or Hinayana Buddhism. Okay, so and compared to the other I guess school of teaching, if you will, of the Buddhism is Mahayana. Okay, so the Theravada way is to basically achieves Arhathood or the Pratyeka Buddha. Okay, so this is mainly intended for people who are cultivating for themselves, basically, and they're not necessarily out there trying to help other sentient beings to achieve Buddhahood, right? So a lot of the Buddha's disciples, when they heard his teachings, they because of their their foundation, right? Their wisdom, their foundation and cultivation and all that, that after they heard the teachings, they instantly achieved the level of arhat. For most people, they go through this process, right? So there's like a 4-step process to become an arhat. The stream enter basically is I guess before that is like the hearer, and they're the ones who hear the Dharma, and to be able to encounter the Dharma. Then you get to the Strodapana, which is stream enter. So they're into the stream of, in this case, they can become Pratyeka Buddhas. Okay, so that's not the same as a Buddha that we talk about. The Pratyeka Buddha is one that's, I think, Buddha described as something like, what is it, like burnt wood? I mean, it's basically, you can achieve enlightenment, but you're all alone, right? You're not you're not really one with all sentient beings. Okay. But anyway, so there's this process, arhat, and even arhats. Okay, when it gets to the highest level, the arhat, they don't necessarily have to reincarnate, right? Because you can see that the anagamin, the third level, is a non-returner. But they do stay. I mean, they don't have to come to the earth, okay, as a human being, but they stay at those other levels of being, I guess, spiritual being. But and in arhat, okay, they don't have to come back, but but many choose to do so. For example, our predecessor, Tada Zhenjing, right, true sage of great virtue, he was an arhat, and he chose to incarnate in this world during this period of universal salvations, to receive the Tao and also to carry out this mission. So now he is no longer in this path. He's at least a bodhisattva, okay, under the Mahayana path. So the Mahayana path is basically to treat all sentient beings as equals to oneself, and therefore, wanting to achieve oneself, but and also helping others, all sentient beings, to achieve, to leave this, this bitter sea, right? This uh, cycle of reincarnation. Okay, so yeah, so basically, yeah, bodhisattva, and then the highest level is Buddha, um, right? Okay, so what we are cultivating is, you can say, is in this Mahayana path, and we are cultivating the way of bodhisattvas, Buddhas. Oh, sorry. Okay. Uh, yeah, what's going on here? Oh, okay, sorry, I'm using like slides I used before, but okay. So bodhisattva. Okay, so bodhi, if you break down that word into two parts, right? There's Sanskrit. Bodhi means awakened or enlightened, and sattva means sentient beings. So we say that actually we are no different, or sentient beings are no different from uh, an awakened one, like a Buddha or a Bodhisattva. The only difference is that they are awakened or enlightened. Okay, so you can say that it's all in the mind, so to speak. That's the difference. Uh, so given that it's all in the mind, and the mind is under our control, well, I hope so, then we can all become bodhisattvas and Buddhas, right? So it's not the external influence. There's no, none of that really. I mean, those things have an effect, maybe in terms of our cultivation, but ultimately it's our mindset. Okay, if we have the proper mindset, we can become awakened and enlightened. So that's what a bodhisattva is. So bodhisattva, an enlightened being who has transformed delusion into wisdom, right? Because most all sentient beings are delusional, right? From the Buddhist point of view, from the enlightened point of view, they're delusional, and they transform that into wisdom, right? So that's what we really want, right? And the bodhicitta, which is the mind of awakening that strives for Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings, right? So this is something that, again, these all come from ourselves. I mean, our Buddha nature, right? We all have that true nature, the Buddha nature. Uh, and so it is very natural, would be very natural for us to, if we can see, if we can see the truth, we can understand, we are awakened, and we also realize that we are, yes, I am no different from other sentient beings. As an awakened or enlightened person, all sentient beings are the same, and therefore we want to benefit all sentient beings. Let everyone become awakened and enlightened. So the Mahayana is also known as like the great vehicle of cultivation, right? And that is the way of cultivation in this white era. So in this white era, if we're still cultivating, the way of the Theravada, or basically monks. Now, if you go to Buddhist temples and you have a lot of monks, they're cultivating, or nuns. They're mainly cultivating for themselves. They're still cultivating that other way, the Theravada way. Okay, so but we in this white era, because it's the um, period of universal salvation, three realms. So we must cultivate. We're cultivating not just for ourselves, right? Okay, so of course, bodhisattvas, they all have four great vows. I mean, you've heard these before, right? Sentient beings are innumerable. I vow to ferry them all. Afflictions are endless. I vow to extinguish them all. Dharma teachings are infinite. I vow to master them all. Perfect enlightenment is unsurpassed, and I vow to achieve it. Okay, so I mean, we won't go into details of this, since these are uh, these can talked about in other classes. Okay. Um, Also, there's the four immeasurable minds, right? Infinite loving kindness to give love and happiness to others, boundless compassion to save others from suffering or willing to suffer for others, limitless happy joy to rejoice in the welfare of others, and infinite equanimity and relinquishment to yield and give up all for others. So you can see, yeah, this is basically we can embody these four immeasurable minds, but in practice, we are basically selfless beings, right? And that's what all bodhisattvas and Buddhas are, selfless. They there is no idea of self. It's just everyone. It's all one, right? Sentient beings, one. So obviously they would do things for sentient beings because helping sentient beings is helping oneself. They're identical. Okay. Um, Now there are like these mahasattvas, okay, what are called great beings or great bodhisattvas. So you hear about them, Avalokitesvara or Guanyin Bodhisattva, right? uh, Akasagarbha, uh, Siddhigarbha, right? The Buddha or Bodhisattva. He's now a Buddha, but in the underworld. Uh, and then okay, I'm not going to try to pronounce this one, but and then you have Maitreya, Manjushri, Samantabhadra, and the last one. Okay, sorry. All right, but okay, so there are many of these great bodhisattvas. They've reached basically at the highest levels of bodhisattva, and they can basically become a Buddha. A lot of times, well, this is the human thing. We kind of distinguish between, they're a bodhisattva or they're a Buddha. Actually, you can say they are Buddhas, okay, but they choose to continue to save sentient beings. So that technically then means that they're a bodhisattva. But they're all enlightened. Okay. Okay. Now, so on this way to Buddhahood, we learn about the Four Noble Truths, right? That's basically you can say that that's Buddha's first teachings, right? Talking about causality and karma. Um, Now, the cultivation that we're talking about for on this way to Buddhahood is what we call the six paramitas, right? You can say the six perfections. Okay, so it's to reach the other shore of enlightenment. Okay, the perfection and transcendence, right, is what we want to achieve, right, to be free from self and attachment, from body and aversion to suffering, from physical and transformational death. So basically, to transcend uh, the cycle of reincarnation. Okay, and mind has a mind that is all inclusive. So that's the four immeasurable minds. Sorry. Um, so basically, the practice of the six paramitas is to help us give up our selfish desires and dedicate or sacrifice ourselves for the awakening of sentient beings, right? Um, Now, this is kind of these are ways of like categorizing, I guess, the cultivation, the practice, right? Because then, there are other things. We talk about four subjects of cultivation, which are different aspects of our cultivation. But ultimately, you can say this is just another way of categorizing that. Okay, so we're going to start talking about the first one, which is charity or giving. Okay. Okay, so so these all right. You have the six, right? So you have giving, precepts, or discipline, forbearance, tolerance, patience, right? Diligence and concentration, uh, or Diana, I guess, and wisdom. Okay, so the thing is, when we practice any of these, right, we should always practice with wisdom, right? We don't blindly practice something. Just like, for example, giving, right? Charity. Uh, we have to, yeah, I mean, it's good we give, you might say, sometimes we say, oh, maybe it's good to just give unconditionally. However, sometimes it may not be the good thing to do or the right thing to do because you might harm the other person. Let's say they're homeless and uh, they say, hey, hey, give me some alcohol, liquor, right? And you give it to them, but that's not going to help them, right? So it might make things worse for them. So we have to use our wisdom. Well, we can't give them that. Give them something else. Give them food or whatever. So wisdom is very important. I mean, that's what we're trying to uh, gain, or at least develop our wisdom, to manifest our wisdom, innate prajna, that great you can say divine wisdom, um, right? Because that, after all, we want to transform from the human delusional state of mind to one that is awakened and has wisdom, right? So, anyways, yeah. But of course, it's also a lot of these, some of these other, like diligence. Of course, you can apply that to some of these other things when we're practicing, etc. So it's, in other words, none of these are like should be taken as independent. I mean, they are, yeah. I mean, you can say, oh, giving, okay, that's giving, but again, it should be when we practice, we need to apply all of these. Okay. Now, okay, so the chief examiner at the three realms, okay, he says, right, charity or giving is to be able to give up uh, fancy food and drink, not to consume these things. So, so right. So we tend to think of charity or giving as, oh, we give something to someone else, but it's also giving up something that we have. Okay, right? Yeah, I mean that makes sense. So yeah, so not to be, oh, splurge on fancy food, expensive food, etc., or other material things, right? So because we got to get rid of that greed, right, and desire. Human sentiment, longing for things, and or evil, sinful vices, right? Things not to do, right? We have to give up those. And then also this idea of you and me, right? Not to contend with others. So this duality, right? The me and you, right? This separation. So we have to get rid of that too. So really, in the this charity and giving, yeah, we think of it as very simply. Most people talk about it as, oh yeah, you make a donation or something, but that's only half the story. Okay, that's only half of it, right? So this is, and that you can say that's the external half of it. Then the internal is to be able to give up some these things here. And so for us to succeed, to be successful in practicing this paramita, this is to also do all these internal things, to giving these up, okay, or relinquishment or abnegation, whatever. Okay. Uh, and so we also need to learn the five sacrifices of saints and sages, right? To sacrifice material wealth is great righteousness. To sacrifice reputation is great benevolence. To sacrifice family love is great kindness. To sacrifice life is great courage. To sacrifice merit is great wisdom. Okay, so yeah, what does it mean to? Well, okay, so it's kind of obvious. Material wealth, okay, reputation, um, family love. So, for example, our predecessors and you know, they or even patriarchs, sometimes they've had to sacrifice basically, the family. They've had to leave their family, leave everything behind to carry out their this Tao mission. Okay, and of course, some have sacrificed their life, you know, uh, for the Tao as well. That's obviously takes great courage to do these things. And then merit also, it's not we cannot be attached to the idea of gaining merit, right? If we are attached to the idea of gaining merit, then we don't really gain true merit. Okay, so we have to be able to let go of that and just do things. You can say, just from our true nature, from our conscience, follow our conscience in doing things without any motive or agenda, and then that is true merit. Okay. So again, this is using wisdom. It's not the way that humans normally think. It's like, oh, I want to gain something, right? So that's not the way. Right. So Holy Teacher says, loyalty, filial piety, benevolence, righteousness are fundamental principles in our spirit of cultivation. Yeah, I mean all of these various virtues. Um, the simplest step in cultivation is charity and giving, though. Okay, so because some of these maybe, yeah, it might be harder to cultivate some of these things, but giving or charity, everyone knows how to do that. I mean, even though it's not about the amount, right? Necessarily. We give according to our means, right? What we're able to do. And it may not necessarily be material giving, right? So during the Dharma class, right, we have two vows, right? Or the first vow, well, I mean, I'm sorry, it's the second vow, right? Is there are two forms of giving, right? So you can do material giving also, or do the other type, which is giving of the Dharma, so there are many ways of giving, right? Even a smile, right? You smile at people, say encouraging words. All these things are giving, right? Two forms of giving. So it is the simplest step in cultivation, and that's why this charity or giving is the first paramita. Um, and cultivation is not just talking about surface meaning of words; it is about awakening or realizing the true meaning and principles behind the words. Okay, so yeah, so that's why we learn here that okay, so charity and giving is not just about giving something to someone else, but it's also giving up certain things, right? Uh, right? Giving up our ego, getting rid of our ego, things like that. Right. So true principles are a way to lead people out of confusion and ignorance, right? And true principles must be realized and experienced, not just the knowledge, right? So we don't learn these things as an academic exercise. A lot of things we learn in school, although they are useful, most of us probably don't use 90% of it, right? Um, and but that's not the case here. If we want to achieve Buddhahood, we have to cultivate. We have to put it into practice, right? So these principles that we learn, it has to be practiced, realized and experienced. So we have to practice it. Uh, all right. So let me see. Yeah. Okay. So spreading virtues starts with one's own virtuous conduct. Giving comes from the heart. Yeah, everything. So it comes from the heart. So you can say there's that intention. I mean, again, we don't do it. We don't give, um, as just to look good, right? You say, oh, look, I donated this much, and you want everyone to know about it. So it's not like that. It comes from the heart. It's like sincerity, right? We have to be truly sincere about giving and have no attachment to it. Okay, so that's the key. Um, so kindness is an inherent duty, right? Giving establishes good affinity. Yeah, and that's true, right? We will do want to establish good affinity. Well, yeah, we say good affinity with sentient beings. Okay, you don't want to offend people or um, you know make people become your enemies, right? Because then that affinity that then let's call that bad affinity. Then that one day will come and it will then make things harder for us in the future, right? So good affinity will kind of like smooth the path for us in the future. And no attachments after performing good deeds. Yeah, accumulated blessings are balanced. So again, we have to have no attachment to these, whatever we're doing, whether it's charity or other deeds, uh, then that it becomes true merit. Okay, then we can accumulate the true merits. Otherwise, if we have attachment to it, some people they say, oh, yeah, they they want to achieve something by and they know that by ferrying people, uh, they can get a lot of merits. Now that's problem is then they take it too far and they ferry anyone, regardless, it has to go through some kind of a filtering process. You can't just bring anyone in. And a lot of times, these people don't know what they're getting into, and they they're in the middle of the dollar receiving, and they refuse to continue, because they feel like they've been tricked by whoever brought them in. So that's already that's gone too far, and that's negative. Okay, so then there's not just no merit, not you're not getting merits, you're getting demerits. Okay, so again, we should not have that attachment to merits. Just do it, according to affinity, according to the people's affinity. Giving is the first paramita of cultivation, right? The other shore can be right in front of us, right? So again, this is like the first step. You can say it's a small step, but um, it's an important step to do because it's also helping us to kind of get rid of this idea of self, right? Okay. Charity, yeah, okay, I don't know how much I want to go through all of these, but all right. Okay. So charity is understanding and ability to know and carry out good intentions, right? Charity is doing to perform good deeds for the benefit of others, right? Charity is giving praise to rejoice in and praise others at the right moment. Charity is having a broad mind to aid and support the weak and give to the poor. So here, the elements of the equanimity, right? Uh, that we, relinquishment and also rejoice. So this is part, so some of the four immeasurable minds are in here. Charity is a path to climb the ladder of Tao for the three vehicles cultivation. Um, Charity is performing merits to expediently accumulate merits according to one's ability. Charity is a driving force to induce basic goodness in the heart. Charity is an essential start to learn and progress in cultivation. Okay. So yeah, so because again, it's like you can say it's the easiest thing for us to do um, in terms of cultivation. So we should, do more of it. I mean, if we find other aspects of cultivation more difficult, then we can make up for some of it, by doing more charity or giving. Charity has the effect of great leverage in nurturing the saintly by use of the worldly. And we use the forms, borrow the forms, sorry, to cultivate our true self. Right? Charity is the harmony of perfecting oneself and encouraging and helping others. Okay. So again, there's always external and internal aspects of this in cultivation. Right? Charity is the transfer of merits to eliminate karmic retribution, both visible and invisible. Right? Charity is the process of getting good blessings and arousing the light of wisdom. Okay. Charity is reciprocity, to give, to gain, and the more you give, the more you gain. Right. So again, we right, because in Chinese we say de, so it's to be able to give or give up, and in order to receive or to gain. Right. So most humans or the delusional human mind would think, hey, that doesn't make sense. I want to gain, right? So I can't give. If I give, I'm not gaining. That's not right. Okay, that's kind of inverted view. Okay, charity is equality. You can transform your life, and I can change my fate. Again, yeah. So basically, by helping others, we can change our own fate too. So it's yeah, we're equally, everyone benefits, right? Charity is inseparability to being happy and willing to give. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we get to the point where we do things. I mean, if we feel like we're being forced, I mean, we have to force ourselves to do it. That's not why we're not there yet. We have to get to the point where when we're giving, we're very happy to give. Okay. Charity is a link from this shore to the other shore that cannot be severed. Okay. Charity is the importance of not thinking of the self when giving, right? There's no ego or attachment. And charity is to be unattached to an amount of material things, allowing one to give, right? So, yeah, we shouldn't think that, oh, these other people, they donated $100. And, so I feel like there's pressure, right? That I have to give at least that much. Otherwise, I look bad. But that's not the case. Again, we give according to our abilities, and it doesn't matter. Other people, hey, someone they can afford to give $1,000. Maybe I can only give $10. Okay, but we shouldn't feel bad about that. And that's why, in the temple, we should not should never talk about, oh, how much people are donating, because then that will kind of give pressure on people, and maybe some people will feel bad and they won't, then they feel like they can't give, but they can. Okay, so they can give any amount. Charity is not remembering the shadow of who received my giving either. So we should not also again give, right? You give and forget, right? Forget who you gave it to or what you gave it for. Forget that I gave it at all. and that's the best way. Charity is the substance to the realizing the Bodhisattva way of the six paramitas. Okay, so yeah, so this is because this is one of the the external aspects of the cultivation that is very important, right? So Holy Teacher says, do we give naturally, or is it because the rules of the rules that we give, right? So again, it shouldn't be forced. It should be feel like, hey, this is natural, the right thing, good thing to do. Right? Holy Teacher is not talking about the money, but about true giving, not looking at the amount, but whether we have a kind or giving heart. Exactly. So again, it's back to our heart and mind, our mindset about giving. Right? Cultivation is not on the surface only. From the superficial, we still can enter into the profound. Right. So uh, again, yeah. So we are the cultivation again. I mean, and when we're starting out, yeah, it's kind of like superficial kind of cultivation because we don't have a deep understanding yet of the profoundness of the cultivation. But so we're getting into that now. I mean, we are realizing that there are these internal aspects which are just as important. Okay, so charity, yeah, the external three types of giving, right? So material giving, uh, the giving of dharma, teaching, right? Propagating Tao, uh, and then the last one is this fearless. Or we tend to talk about it as time and effort, but it's also in terms of giving encouragement and courage to others. Okay, so that they may continue or on this path as well, right? Okay. And then on the internal side, yeah, it's about relinquishment. Okay, letting go, uh, giving up the ego and selfishness, right? Giving up those sensual pleasures, giving up wealth and fame, giving up simple deeds, vices, and bad habits. So, like we say, get rid of our bad temper and correct our faults, um, and giving up contention and vying with others, right? Competing or trying to get rewards, etc. Right? Okay, so basically, purpose of giving is to overcome miserly and selfish tendencies, right? It's like mentioned earlier, the Dharma class vows, right? We emphasize the holy and spiritual. Okay, so we give more time to the temple or the Tao matters, affairs, right? And giving a material and Dharma. Okay, so Tao is about harmonizing the yin and yang, internal and external. Right? We harmonize and reconcile the internal state of mind with the external giving. Right? Willingness in inner joy and rejoicing, no attachment, no ego. That's the ultimate, the purpose of this practice or this paramita of charity or giving. All right. Okay. So now we get to the second one called precepts or discipline. I prefer to use discipline, I guess, more kind of broader, general. Okay. So we have basically the five basic precepts. So precepts of the body, right? No killing, no stealing, no sensual misconduct. Uh, the precepts of speech, no untruthful speech, and precepts of the mind, no intoxicants. Okay. So uh, okay. But those are kind of basic precepts. But obviously it should be a little bit more broader. Or these can be more generalized. Okay, so that's why we call them more disciplines. Right. So and then 10 holes of these. Okay, so again, very similar thing here. Just go through this. Yeah. Then we have the four proper conduct. Okay, so we all know about these things here. Okay, so the chief examiner of the three realms, right, says, overcome disorderly or destructive uh, or criminal tendencies, right? Reform excessive or depraved behavior, right? To be able to maintain the Buddha concentration, learn and practice the Buddha manner, right? Vanquish the six thieves, right, of our sense portals, and cut off evil or sinful wrongdoings. Okay, so that's you can say that's what precepts or discipline is kind of all about to help us. Because as long as we have, or as long as these, if we're still being controlled by our desires, right, through what we see, through our sense portals, that we sense, then it's going to be very difficult. We have to kind of be able to overcome that. Okay. Uh, And he says, the essence of Tao's without form to cultivate Tao is to maintain the Bodhi mind, right? To practice the Bodhisattva path, to uphold precepts, to observe the self nature or the true nature, to liberate the consciousness, to maintain Buddha mind concentration, to maintain the four awe-inspiring postures while we're walking, standing, sitting, or reclining. Okay. Also to obey temple rules and proprieties, to keep self-nature pure and calm, to keep the six roots pure and calm, to vanquish the six thieves and turn them into the six protectors of the mind and self-nature, right? To cut off evil thoughts and lust, to get rid of the human and flesh hearts, to examine the heart, our heart and mind, to return to the original pure and calm Tao or Buddha heart. Okay, so that's what we're supposed to be doing. Okay, so obviously we need to have discipline, and we need to have the precepts. You can say are the rules, okay, or yeah, the rules that we follow, that we practice. Yeah, and so we have to have the discipline too, to because the rules, a lot of the rules you might say are external, but then the discipline, we need mental discipline as well, right? All right, so Holy Teacher says, as long as one can persevere, one can listen to the class until the end, no matter how tired. Yeah, a lot of times, people go to class and they fall asleep, but we need to persevere. So this is, yeah, that's a discipline, right? As long as one is steadfast, one can propagate Tao all over, regardless of tests, right? So we have to have that determination to carry on, regardless of how hard it is. As long as one has conviction, one can take control of one's vows, no matter how difficult. Yeah. So again, we have to have that strong faith to be able to carry out our vows, right? In the face of whatever kind of adversity or difficulties. As long as one is resolute, one can rein in the heart and mind regardless of changes. Again, we have to be very determined. Is wearing a white shirt a display of the individual, or does it represent unity? So, when we go to the temple, we're wearing the uniform. So everyone is kind of looks the same. So yeah, it's not, we're not doing it well. I mean, so this is basically, yeah, one idea is that we're we're equal, right? We look at everyone as we're all equal, and this is not to be able not to flash or show our individuality. Oh, my personality. I wear these colors and this fashion. Again, those are that's all ego and self, right? So we're getting away from that. Is performing temple rituals a display of extravagance, or does it represent propriety? Yeah. So these temple rituals, it's not like, I mean, some people might think, oh, why do we need these things? I mean, why do all those bowing and all that stuff and the offerings, ceremonies, rituals, all these, a lot of rituals. Well, this is all part of what we call propriety, right? And there's a meaning behind it. It's not just doing it for show, okay? Just to make things look like, oh yeah, look good, but there's meaning, and that's part of the cultivation. Right? Is wearing a ceremonial robe a display of heaven's mandate, or does it represent Tao energy? Right. So again, also, we're not doing it for show, right? So like the Tao, the transmitting masters, right? They wear the robe, right? It's not to show, hey, I'm a transmitter, and so you got to listen to me. I have authority, whatever. No, it's to kind of give off this energy, this Tao energy, this atmosphere, right? Right. Is taking on the mission and duties a display of work, or does it represent cultivation? Yeah. So we're not just. It's not like a job, right? Sometimes we do things. Oh, it's just a job. I just do it, do whatever, because I have to, right? No, I mean it's basically when we carry out our duties and missions, yeah, it's don't treat it as just a job, right? It's our part of our cultivation, right? It's going to help us in our cultivation, and ultimately, to try to achieve our goal or Buddhahood. Okay? The external is empty, whereas the internal is true with real meaning and value. Yeah. So basically, so what these are kind of pointing out is like some of the external, what you see on the surface, that's not really the true thing, and that's all empty. Okay, what's true is the internal aspect again, right? So this is again our mindset, how we look at things, how we uh, uh, how we think of things, right? Okay, so yeah, all right. So these five precepts, right, and also they're related, correspond to these five constant virtues that we have, right? Benevolence, righteousness, propriety, sincerity, and wisdom. Okay. Um, so Holy Teacher goes on to say, all right, so when thoughts are confused, one must take precepts as teacher. When intentions are evil, one must take precepts as teacher. Disciples must be vigilant of their body or actions, do not enter into heretical sects or deviant paths, right? So this is basically, yeah, it actually, we must, yeah, um, always remind ourselves of these precepts or the disciplines when, we are confused, when we have, yeah, when we're not sure what's going on, that will always kind of bring us back to where we should be or where we should, in the right direction. Okay. Um, and, there's also the where uh, Buddha also told Ananda, I think Ananda asked the question, before Buddha entered parinirvana, that, who should we follow, right? After he passes, after Buddha enters nirvana, Buddha didn't say, oh, Mahakasyapa, right? He would be the next the patriarch. But, no, he says precepts, right? You follow the precepts, follow, this, you can say the external precepts and the internal discipline or precepts. Okay. That's what's most important, right? Ultimately, or follow the Buddha nature, basically. Okay, so disciples must be vigilant of their mouth and speech, right? Do not let it spread gossip or rumors. Disciples must be vigilant of their inner intent and thoughts. Do not create trouble. Okay, so again, the body, uh, mouth, and mind. Okay, the three aspects. Okay, I think I'm gonna. All right, let me see here. Prudence keeps the gained experience upright. Right, reason, rationality makes the principle proper. Precepts discipline the consciousness, right? Propriety is refined the disposition. It is proper to uphold the principles of human relationships and virtues. It is proper to know how to apply to Buddha nature. Okay, this is called the second paramita of cultivation, is the basis of reform. So we have to basically, yeah, we are changing, we have to reform ourselves, right? From our old ways. Uh, we use discipline, we use precepts to I mean, at first it may seem like it's kind of like restrictive, right? I'll say, oh no, I can't do this, I can't do that. But gradually, we have to get to the point where, again, it feels very natural and it feels it's the right thing to do. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna have to skip all these here. It's getting no time here. But anyways, you guys can read these on your own later on. But heart and mind is the foundation of precepts and discipline. If the foundation is stable, then we can stand firmly. And then what is there to fear of hardship or slander, right? So we have to have a good foundation. Everyone works together in Tao affairs, but cultivation precepts are individual matters. Since the beginning, Buddhas and saints did not attain Tao either casually or by accident, right? It's they're they it was hard work, and discipline, right? Precepts or discipline requires great skill and is our weakest aspect because it should be maintained at all times, but we don't. Okay, so that's something that we tend to, I mean, we'll slack off, right? And we don't maintain that discipline all the time. That's something that we really need to work on. Okay, so the purpose of this precepts of discipline is to overcome negligent, disorderly, immoral, and excessive tendencies. Right, that's humans tend to have those. Discipline to let go of attachments and delusions as well. Right, so the practice, three basic precepts: no harmful deeds, cultivate our virtues, and benefit sentient beings. Precepts of the body, speech and mind, and temple rules and proprieties. We practice those, follow those, and we ultimately we need to take the vegetarian vow at some point, okay, or the vegan vow, right? So moral, this is moral discipline to realize the true nature, right? So we need to have that discipline. If we don't have that discipline, we cannot, it'd be very difficult to achieve. Okay. All right. So I have to get to the next one. Forbearance. Right. So Chief Examiner says, can we can, with forbearance or patience, yeah, tolerance, we can take a loss or unfair treatment. We can tolerate verbal abuse. We can face wrongdoing or blame head on. We can accept or submit to adversity. It is a common saying, right? Take a loss is to take advantage, is to gain, right? So, yeah, again, this is kind of counterintuitive for humans. Delusional mind thinks, yeah, well, how can I take advantage by taking a loss, right? So sacrifice, enjoyment, enjoy sacrifice. So we have to enjoy, we have to get to the point where we enjoy giving up things, sacrificing. Okay. There are these two, Hansan and Shida. Okay, they're like teenagers. I think they were in the, let's see, what they were in the Tang Dynasty. Okay, yeah, they're incarnations of actually Manjushri and Samantabhadra Bodhisattvas. Okay, uh, and they say, how to deal with others when they try to ruin, slander, take advantage of, deceive, ridicule, laugh at, insult, or humiliate me. I just tolerate, endure, yield, back off, ignore them. After a few years, see how they are. Right? I guess I mean, this is hard to do. This is definitely hard to do. But I guess if it can be done, then you're saying that hey, eventually they will give up. They will stop. Okay. Now tolerate a few words and be carefree. Endure for a while and be happy as a saint. Back up a step and be as broad as the sea and sky. Yield a bit and be leisurely. Right. So basically, yeah. I mean, we can just say, hey, just ignore them. Don't let it bother us. Um, okay, temper and refine oneself. Okay, to use the true principles and non-ego or non-self to deal with gossip and harmful words. Right. Use gratitude and meekness to accept adversity or distress and insult. Right. So in one of Buddha's previous lives, right, he was this, I guess, called the forbearance hermit. Right. He endured dismemberment by the king of Kalinga, but he did not get angry, resent, or blame because he did not have the four marks, right? Four images we call, right? Self, others, sentient being, and life. Okay, so uh, basically, no view of himself as being, this separate entity, right? Uh, so that's again, that's very difficult for us to achieve. But hey, we can. I mean, something that we need to work towards. Okay, uh, right. So the holy teacher says, to be patient, with sentient beings. Anger only induces conflict. So yeah, we need to be patient because sentient beings, right? They don't know what they're doing. Right? They're delusional. Just like Jesus says, right? Forgive them, right? Ask God to forgive those who persecuted him, for they don't know what they're doing, right? So having suffered indignities in life, we can still die with our dignity. In the end, we can achieve true emptiness, right? Yeah. So true emptiness, non-attachment to anything, um, but true emptiness is really that's our true nature. Okay. So we can get to that, become really true one with our true nature. Right. So when calm and harmonious, we are guided by the Buddha nature to cope with hardships on the journey of cultivation. uh, yeah, we cannot let our emotions get control, then, we won't be able to follow be guided by our Buddha nature. We won't have the wisdom to do things, do what's right. Okay. Um, and so we have to keep our heart and mind calm. If we cultivate well the third paramita, we can be at ease in any situation or environment. So yeah, if we can endure, right, we have forbearance, we have tolerance, patience, then yeah, then no matter what is happening around us or to us, we can always be at ease, and calm. Right? Okay, so forbearance is the beginning of managing sentiments and bringing out our spirit. Forbearance is the application of releasing feelings and transforming temperament. Forbearance is the capacity for heart and mind to be firm and flexible and the spirit to be in the highest state. Forbearance is the skill to follow and respond meekly and transform our thoughts. Okay. Let me see. Okay. All right. Forbearance is the way forward in the course of cultivation and in facing the hurdles of numerous trials. Forbearance is the submission to the journey of ups and downs, frustrations, of temptations, and tests. Forbearance is the realization of cultivating together and learning from each other. Forbearance is the interpretation of the mandate of heaven in applying Tao and the affinity of this time. Okay, so forbearance is the origin of curbing poverty and cushioning despair. Forbearance is the foothold on which to pacify disputes and quell impulses. Forbearance is the marvelous state of broadening tolerance and easygoing temperament. Forbearance is the simple action of introspecting and getting proof on the Tao. Okay. Forbearance is the attention to mastering our cultivation and taking charge of life and death. Forbearance is the serenity of transforming small matters into nothing and big matters into small, right? So, yeah, a lot of times if we go try to, kind of contend or get into thing, tit for tat type of thing, then that's, it can make matters worse. So by through forbearance, things can kind of resolve by themselves, basically. Um, Forbearance is the genuine practice of controlling thoughts and being a saint and establishing virtues and reputation. Forbearance is the innocence of being subject to resentment from others and beautifying the wickedness of others. Yeah. So forbearance is the mastery of not being influenced, tempted, or deluded by sensual pleasures. Forbearance is heaven's intent. That is not about debating between you and me, but about achieving the goal together. Right? Forbearance is the ambition of unlimited potential and gaining more courage the more it is used. Forbearance is the backbone that attests to the Bodhisattva way and the six paramitas. Okay. All right, so the purpose of this third paramita is to overcome intolerant and impatient tendencies, right? We tend to be sometimes get impatient. The emotions start coming out. We get angry, etc. So we need to overcome that. Tolerance, calm, restraint, meekness, respect, abnegation, or self-denial, and patience, right? And it's to avoid conflict and to create harmony, because that's the way of Tao, is to be in harmony with everything and everyone. The practice is to be able to accept adverse situations and loss, including being taken advantage of. Yeah, nobody wants nobody wants to be taken advantage of, but we can. Yeah, obviously, we should avoid. We probably should avoid it when possible, but if not, okay, so be it. Right? Able to accept verbal abuse or slander, right? Control and change our mindset, attitude, transform anger and hatred into gratitude, appreciation, and respect. So yeah, these are maybe it's kind of hard to do, but we have to. It's again, our mindset needs to change from the delusional human mindset to the awakened and enlightened, the mindset of a Buddha, right? The Bodhi mind. Okay. And so this quote here from Gandhi, right? You can say he's the father of the civil rights movement, I guess, the nonviolence, right? Uh, we should meet abuse by forbearance. Human nature is so constituted that if we take absolutely no notice of anger or abuse, the person indulging in it will soon weary of it and stop. Okay. So, but anyway, so that's it for today, I guess. Time is a little bit over. So we covered these first three. The next time, whenever that might be, we'll talk about the last three paramitas. Right? So I guess that's it. If I had said anything wrong, or I asked Buddhas for forgiveness, and also asked transmitting masters and lecturers for their corrections. Thank you. I also want to dedicate the merits from this class to all the sentient beings around the world who need it. Thanks.